Welcome back to Games Revealed. I'm James and also The Brink, and today I want to talk about the things I want to see in the next Steam Deck. Yes, I do not have a Steam Deck in my hands yet. Yes, is it a little soon to be talking about the next Steam Deck? Yes, but I can dream. And to be honest, the Steam Deck, how it is and how I've watched people play it, is near perfect. But there are a few things I think that could be better, and got in mind, some of these things are just like, I wish they were on it. Before we get into the list, make sure to like, subscribe, bash that bell with your crowbar. Now, it's not ranked from like most wanted to least wanted, but I will have to say the next gen Zen 4 and RDNA 3 APU architecture would be sick to see in this thing. It is based off an 5 nanometer process, and it should make it ready for VR. And this is the number one thing where, if anything else on my list was added, I'd call it potentially a pro. But adding a new APU, I always see it as like the next gen thing, right? So if this happened, next gen, in my opinion, would be a Steam Deck 2 for the APU. And then everything else that I have on here could be a pro if they wanted. I'm not the biggest fan of different versions, and especially how Steam Deck is. I don't think they're going to have too big of an issue supporting Steam Deck and a Steam Deck 2 or Pro. I like clear reasons why we have different versions instead of just like Steam Deck with this APU and this APU and this APU. I like how Steam Deck actually did it with the different sizes, and to be honest, they should have just made it so you could have selected the Steam Deck and selected what size you wanted to add into it, and not really base it off 3 different SKUs. I believe is how they kind of did it. So the next one is an OLED 1080 screen. That's just I feel like, so I've used a lot of devices that actually do, like a laptop that's 15-inch 4K. I can tell the difference between a 1080 and a 4K. Now, when you get into like the 2K, like in between, maybe that's the sweet spot, and I actually think that's the sweet spot. With this device, I mean, I've noticed on my phones when the resolution's gone higher, especially with like text fidelity and stuff like that. And with games, I don't know if it's going to matter as much until you have to read text in the game. And then it starts to matter a little bit more if there's a small interface in the game. That's where the screen can start to matter. And I think a 1080 would actually be a sweet spot. Yeah, I know why they went with 800. There's various reasons, performance, power, and all that. But if we could pack maybe a little bit better battery, which I'm going to get to, then this wouldn't be maybe too much to ask. So next one is a USB 4 or Thunderbolt port instead of just the USB 3. USB-C. Really, this would be so that you could hook up an eGPU, right? So you can essentially have a dock that's hooked up to an eGPU, or the dock is an eGPU enclosure. And then you can have your main desktop, and then you could, take it on the go. In fact, if they could get if that Zen 4 CPU architecture in the APU, if that could just be powerful enough, I would main a Steam Deck 2 that had that Zen 4 RDNA 3 architecture. Oh, and I guess, with the 5 nanometer process, that would also reduce the heating and the power consumption, making you able to usually up the performance while also draining less battery and making it so it's less hot. I mean, there's balances, right? So if there's less heat, you can usually pump up, it's going to increase the heat, but that's usually, you can pump up that performance, produces more heat, but it'd be at the same power, but better performance. So it's reasonable to say, like, with that GPU or the APU, that the 1080 screen's doable, and then also the eGPU with the USB 4, which is I'm just learning that they're coming out with that. So I'm used to Thunderbolt, and that's usually how I've seen eGPUs done. But with USB 4, that would be sick, because then you could just have a main PC. Your Steam Deck's your main PC. You grab it on the go, you can play it, stick it down, play your games on your desktop, and do your work. I like that concept. I always like the idea of having one device to do it all, but I mean, in reality, I'll probably still have two computers, so I probably always will. Okay, so two USB slots is my next one. Yeah, it's very similar, but I'd like to have a USB slot on the top and the bottom. And once again, some of the stuff on my list might not be very doable with a, such a small package. I've just seen it done in other devices like this, like the INEO Next. Yeah, and so I would just like to see the Steam Deck have two, just so you have the option for a dock, because the dock would slip much better in instead of having a little dongle up top. And then you just have options, and then you can also plug in two dongles instead of one. It's just I like options. I like my options. So bigger battery, my next one. The solid lithium ion batteries that they're developing right now, I don't know when they're going to be out, but they're very promising. Maybe when the Steam Deck 2 comes out, it could be 2 years, could be 10 years. Maybe this is a more solid technology, which allows typically for more battery to be packed into, if I'm wrong about this, but I believe it almost doubles the capacity. So you should be able to get double the capacity of what the Steam Deck can do. So with that APU and that battery alone, should really increase our battery life for devices in the near future, hopefully. Once again, who knows when that tech's going to come out, but it has been in development for a while. So desktop button. I want to be able to switch between the Steam UI and the desktop, and maybe they already have a feature like this. I've just watched like Linus and some other people use it, and I haven't seen anywhere like one of the buttons that's mapped to the desktop. And I get it. Oftentimes, and I believe INEO and some of those other ones have that, where the Steam Deck doesn't. Those ones deal with Windows a lot. Steam Deck is a unique beast where, it really tries to keep the desktop experience out of it. But I'd still like to see a button for that, or some type of mapping to a button. So once again, that's super nitpicky. Just like to see it. Better rumble packs. So I remember the days of N64 rumble packs, right? They were a luxury back then. They were fun to have, didn't quite get them, but now I do. When you hold a controller and it has a good rumble feature, it makes a difference. I love it. That being said, from my understanding, the Steam Deck's rumble packs or little pieces to it just aren't that great. I'd love to see better ones put into it in the future. And I don't know, maybe it's the form factor. I don't know, but I'd like to see better ones. So there's always, this is a wish list. Not everything has to be fulfilled. Just stuff I'd like to see. Next one is a better dock with a hard drive bay like the Odin. This is one. Ever since I came across that Odin dock, I have really been excited for what docks could potentially do. I never thought I would. I really like when I first saw it, it had, different ports. I'm like, cool, that's cool. But that I could do that with a USB controller also. Like they do N64 controllers as USB instead of, the old school plug. And so in the end, like it's cool, not needed, but the drive bay in that, the 2.5 inch drive bay is awesome. And really, I think the docks, like, if the perfect dock for me for the Steam Deck would be a dock that had a drive bay in it and then also had an eGPU hookup, or maybe even an enclosure. Maybe it could hold. I mean, that'd be a really weird dock, but it'd be interesting. I'll be honest, it'd be very interesting to see what they could do. Maybe even add in another APU into the dock. Let's go crazy here. Add another APU so that we're have two video cards in this thing. That would be a lot of work driver wise, but that would be interesting. Double your performance when you're on your TV or computer with a double APU architecture. I don't know the possibilities of that right now, but I know that we've done, it's not as prevalent now, but you could do 2, 3, 4 quad GPUs and run them. And yeah, not everything ran well on it, but a lot of games ran much better. So this one's also nitpicky. I like less bezel. It feels very like the screen is very much surrounded by a lot of plastic instead of, the thinner bezels. There's multiple reasons to this. I believe like they wanted to hit the screen size while also making it so that they can fit everything that was required in the Steam Deck into it. And so I'm sure they had to increase the size, and with that, either you increase the screen size or you increase the bezel size. And so I get it. It'd be cool to see though. Last thing on my list is easier to swap NVMe bay that is larger. Right now, it's still actually not too bad now that I've watched more people do it. And so I'm not afraid to change the NVMe out. I've done it before on other devices like laptops, but it would be kind of cool to be maybe even have a slot to where, but you'd have to turn it off. I'm assuming. I don't think you want to hot swap this. You turn off your device and you can just, especially if it's, you're driving your desktop on it, that wouldn't be good. But a slot where you could just easily pop it in and out and just swap it that way too. That being said, the SD cards are really showing that they're about as fast as some of these NVMe with load times. So it's a weird world we live in now. I don't know what's real anymore, but at the very least, a bigger, even if it was bigger, it'd be cool to see them bigger too, like the bigger sizes of NVMe's. But it's a wish list item. It's really, to be honest, that's the lowest one on my list. There's a bunch more I could think of, I'm sure, but this is like what I've been thinking about for the past few weeks, and I just wanted to put it down on paper and do a video on it because I think that it really shows that like the Steam Deck's already pretty good, but there are some improvements I think, and I'm sure everyone that's watching this, you have your list of like, oh, it would be cool to see it with a little bit more premium plastic or maybe some metal on it. There's a lot that we kind of wish for, and sometimes we wish for things that aren't good. Like if they were implemented, like metal, make it heavier and less likely for like, let's say, dings and stuff like that. There's some of my items on my list might be bad, but it's still stuff I'd like to see. But you know what? I'm going to dream about getting my Steam Deck, and I'm going to dream about the next Steam Deck. That's just what I do. And let me know in the comments below what you want to see in the next Steam Deck. And that's it. Make sure to watch my other videos, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace out.